Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is Habibullah, your guest for today, and I welcome you all to another episode of Gavel Unscripted, which is the official podcast of Bahria University Moot Society. Today's episode is going to be very special because we have with us someone who is very special. She's someone whom I look up to, and she has been a very helpful mentor for me and for my law degree. She's a distinguished academic, and she is a very acclaimed mooter and has represented Pakistan nationally and internationally. She holds a PhD in international human rights law from University of Notre Dame as a Fulbright scholar, and she has been on the faculty of International Islamic University. She has been teaching at Bahria University, specifically public international law, and she's also the former head of Bahria University Moot Society, and currently she is the assistant professor at University of Dubai in UAE. And she is none other than our very own Dr. Bushra Khan. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Habibullah.
Thank you so
much. Lovely being back at Bahria.
So, ma'am, not as a faculty member, not as a head by ULMS, coming to Bahria after so long. I know it's like 1.5 years, but it feels like ages. So how do you feel coming back as a guest?
Coming back, I had this discussion with Hadith when I entered the university. Nothing seems different except for the fact that you all have grown up and you all know much better than you did before. So that's the only thing that seems different. Otherwise, I see faces that are familiar. I see a place that holds lovely memories for me, and I hope to see lots of familiar faces later on in the day.
Inshallah. Okay, so ma'am, today's podcast is going to be about public international law, how you can build a career in public international law, specifically speaking from Pakistan's perspective. And then how does international law Moot specifically related to international law domain help you building a career in international law? So before we proceed with this particular discussion on this debate or in this particular nuanced question, I would like to ask, what inspired you to pursue a career in public international law? I mean, and specifically in international human rights law. So, yeah.
I think both of us will answer the question in the same way. When I started off my law degree at the International Islamic University, after my first and second semester, I was very clear that I wanted to specialize in corporate law. Very clear. Human rights, international law was nowhere on the radar. I interned at Dialogue, which was a internet company based in Islamabad. I interned at UPhone. And after these two internships, there was this sort of a disillusionment. Corporate law is not my thing. And then came along, after I'd done Public International Law 1 and 2, I was in my 4th semester going into my 5th semester, so my 3rd year of law. I found out about the Henry Duna Moot Court competition, which the ICRC conducted every year. And we had an invitation from the ICRC. The competition was to take place in August, and I signed up for it. I was selected by the university to represent it, went there. We had this week-long course on IHL, so it was different when I was participating in HDMCC. We were taught IHL before we were allowed to compete, before we got the case. Somewhat like Big Day. And we had only one day to read the case, prepare the case, and then argue it before the... Yes, so that week-long course on IHL was something that changed everything for me. I developed this interest in law, in public international law, and international humanitarian law. It was something that just clicked. It was something that made sense. And after that, I was like, there's no going back after this. So one HDMCC was selected to represent Pakistan at PICTE. And once you go to PICTE...
Yeah. That's a whole life-changing experience.
That's when it's immense your future path or career in international law.
So ma'am, why not any other field other than international human rights? So like, why specifically international human rights law? Why not IHL? Why not any other field of public international law?
So international human rights law also. So my specialization, the degree I pursued was in international human rights law, but my dissertation, IHL, came into it. So my dissertation specifically pertains to the relationship between IHRL and IHL in the context of Pakistan and the war on terrorism that we had to grapple with. But you see, international human rights law is something that works alongside IHL in the context of war.
True.
And that's something, that's how I figured I can bring IHL into the discussion.
Okay, so I would answer this question in the exactly same way because I have similar experiences, but 2 to 3 different experiences definitely happened that made me rethink my particular interest in IHL and IHRL. So I was pleading before this particular judge, and he was very learned, and he was from UPenn. So I had a talk with him because he was already doing a career in public international law. So I talked to him, and I was like, I'm very interested in public international law. I said, in which particular field? And I was like, IHL. He said, okay, so look, I have been the advisor of ICRC for like I used to be advisor of ICRC for past 5 years, and the fields of IHL and IHRL are those fields where you would have to pay from your own pocket.
Exactly.
Because these are not lucrative. You have to do it for your passion, and you have to do it because of your interest. You cannot make money out of it. And then another thing happened. I went for the picture, and I was coming. Our flights got delayed, cancelled, so I had to travel with ICRC team from Geneva. So we were in same bus, and I was sitting besides Etienne Custer. You would know him. So I had a discussion with him and about career in ICRC, and he was like, that ICRC is not for building a career.
Yeah.
ICRC is a responsibility. So ICRC is a matter of life and death. Sometimes you know that you would make it out alive after a particular mission, and sometimes you won't. So many people, when they think about it considering from Pakistan's perspective, and you would have to, pay from your own pocket to go into these particular fields. And most of the moots happen on these particular fields. So this is a bit of a shocking reality that comes to them. So what would you say about dealing with these particular, clashes of interest?
See, you either have a passion for it, and this holds true for public international law as well. And I've experienced this while teaching classes here in Islamic University in Dubai. Students, they either have a liking or a passion for international law, or they don't. You can't instill it into them. It's something that either clicks or it doesn't. So once it clicks, once you realize that it's your passion, try your best to make things work out for you. Mooting, participating in moots, try to get your universities behind you, try to get the funding that you require for it. And if that doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. You can always research on these issues. You can always try to get yourself published on these issues. You can intern for various places, right? Which is something you guys all are doing. And ultimately, like you said, it's not a career you can make money from. It's not a career that's lucrative financially, but it's lucrative, as far as your passion is concerned.
Yeah, true.
There's a fulfillment of that for sure. But yes, it's tough. If you compare it to corporate law, if you compare it to international trade law for that matter, or finance law, it's completely at odds with the amount of money you can make over there. But
that's very true.
You're not in it for the money.
I'm just for reviewers because they would like to know. So
if you want to pursue a career in public international law, you need to be passionate about it. Otherwise, go elsewhere.
Yeah, that's very true. Because passion drives you to places that you never want to go otherwise.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, for our viewers, because they would want to, many people would like to ask this question. So, other than IHL and IHRL, what is the most lucrative particular domain of PIL?
Public international, the pull of working with an NGO is always there, right? So you work for non-profit organizations, especially if they're international. You work in the aid sector, you work in the legal advocacy sector, not necessarily on the field, but advising the government. And now in Pakistan, there are a lot of think tanks coming up. They're working closely with the government sector. And Pakistan is now starting to pay more focus to international law and trying to formulate a narrative of Pakistan at the international level in whatever matter we find ourselves caught up in. So it's something that's developing. It's an area that's worth exploring, I believe. And it wasn't as lucrative for us. We didn't have as much opportunities as you guys do now. And I think it's going to continue to develop.
Yeah, that's true. So, ma'am, how would you unfold your journey from going from Pakistan, then to US, and then to Dubai? So how would you explain your journey?
So going from Pakistan to the US, that was back in 2016, got selected for Fulbright and went to the University of Notre Dame. So amazing experience. I was in an environment, and I believe many others like me were also, where the environment put academic excellence before everything else.
That's
right. That's something I believe we lack here, back home. And in the US and at Notre Dame, at the law school, with my professors, with my advisors, everybody wanted to see me and everyone else like me, every other student succeed, excel, do their best. And they would help us in achieving that. And that's something I believe I tried to bring back home with me. That's a value I wanted to practice over here and try to inculcate in my students as well. I mean, try to excel yourselves and try to make an environment for everyone around you to excel and do their best. If we start practicing that here, I mean, the amount of success we can achieve is unimaginable. So it's a core value I learned there, and I wish we can practice it here. As far as Dubai goes, I had this conversation earlier with Dr. Bushra, and I was telling her that if we talk of the students, Bahria, I mean, there's no comparison. You guys are way ahead of them, and you guys are. It's true. You guys put in all the effort despite the limited and constrained resources that you have. You put in your 110%, and you try to achieve everything that you're capable of. And over there, I feel like students just want to get by.
Just want to get done with it.
Get done with their degree and, you know, have something to their name instead of learning something out of it. So it's something that works for them, but I do miss my classroom back here. Other than that, the academic environment again is very supportive. It's everybody's driven towards excellence and wants to achieve something.
That's very nice. So, ma'am, talking about Fulbright, did you intentionally apply for Fulbright, and were you expecting to get accepted, or you just like I would just apply and see what happens?
So I applied. I took my GRE, and I remember. It was the last day of sending in your applications, and at that time it wasn't online. You had to post your application. And for people living in Islamabad, the facility that we had was that we could hand it in at the office in person by 5 o'clock. So I remember that I had one letter of recommendation missing from one of my supervisors, and he, for some reason, was not available in his office. So I sat the entire day outside his office waiting for him, got the recommendation letter for him, and at 4:30 p.m. I submitted it to the office. And after that, I was like, if I get it, it's going to be like the biggest, thing for me, and it's going to be a stroke of luck for sure. But then I got shortlisted for the interview. But I was very sure about my essay. So the personal statement and the research statement that I had put in, I was sure about them.
Research objectives,
exactly. I was pretty sure about them. I knew that I had done enough to get me shortlisted for the interview at least. Okay. And then the interview happened, and the interview went quite well. I mean, I'd advise everyone who's applying for Fulbright to just be yourself and not to make yourself likable to the interview panel. Just be yourself, because they can see through you.
Exactly.
And they'll know when you're making stuff up. So don't. Be yourself, be authentic. That's what they want. That's what they.
This is exactly what happened with me on my SUSI interview, and they were like, "What do you do and what do you want?" So SUSI is a particular policy related program. So I was expecting a question related to Pakistan. So what policy would you change in Pakistan? And they just put me a question and like, if you were to change a policy in this whole world, what would that be? And I was like, okay, there are 194, 196 states, so how would I address that? So I just thought for a minute or two, and then I just responded, and they very much liked it. And the lady from US, she was very much smiling at my answer. I don't know if it was sarcastic smile.
I remember having this discussion with you. You weren't very confident about your interview, and I specifically remember telling you, be yourself, Habibullah.
Yes. So yeah, and when I got the email, I was like, I was sitting in my public international class, PIL2. You weren't there, but sadly I was in someone else's class. So I got this call and I was like, okay, it's a random number, why would I pick it up? But I went outside and just picked it up, and he was like, there was a person from USMS, he was like, congratulations, you have been selected. I was like, okay. So this is something that's really nice, and I wanted to tell you that this happened. Okay, so now I'm moving on, considering the Trump era that has recently started, and Trump is changing a lot of stuff recently. You would know that he disbanded the US Department of Education.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest to the Pakistani students who would like to pursue the career in PIL in US or any career in US universities? Would it be a good option to consider the 4 years or no?
For sure, because the US education market, I believe, is very it's not explored at all by Pakistani students. Continuing with our the legacy of our colonizers, holding on to the British laws. And after graduating, we feel that the logical place to go to for our LLM is the UK, which it isn't. I mean, you can go to any country in Europe, and I'm very, I'm a staunch advocate insofar as suggesting US as a viable option goes. I recommend this to anyone who wants to pursue a PhD, pursue an LLM, because the funding there is
Very good.
very good. The professors over there have their own independent sources of funding. So what you just need to do is reach out to people, and that's where we lack. We don't develop these networks. We are afraid of reaching out. We are afraid of rejection at times. It doesn't make a difference. Just reach out, and reach out to 10 people. If one of them gets back to you, that's
amazing.
That's enough for you.
Yeah.
And the US has a lot of fund. The professors there, the universities there have a lot of funding available. Just do your research. Look at various programs. Look at what professors are doing. Look at whether they're getting funding from sources or not, and then reach out to them. They'll be more than happy to have you on board.
So yeah, you would know about a reverse cultural shock, right?
Yes.
Coming from US. So I was at UMass, and it was the best university that I've ever seen in my life. It's like a 60-acre university. A town is built within the university.
Yes.
Amherst is within UMass, so it's a whole different vibe and whole different people come to the dining of UMass to eat there. So it's a whole community over there. So I remember coming back from UMass to Pakistan, and I had my 3 exams. So 6 exams in 3 days, 2 days after landing. And I hated my time here. And I was like, when I reached home, there was no electricity. And I was like, okay, feels like in Pakistan.
Yes, welcome back.
So I'm talking about basic steps for building a career in Pakistan. So if you would suggest me or any student who is passionate about public international law as a first starting point to build a career in public international law in Pakistan, so what would that step be?
Start while you're still enrolled in your LLB, right? It starts with research, and if you're lucky enough to have a good mooting society at your institute, get started with that. Start participating in mooting competitions, because that's going to help you understand how public international law works. You're going to research on public international law. You're going to do your own independent study on it, and you're going to, in a moot court competition, in front of a panel of judges, you're actually going to know how the law is applied. So that's a good starting point for you to research into various branches of international law and see how they apply. See how the practical application of public international law goes. And then it's a suggestion that I gave to all of my students here at Bahria was to try and publish yourselves. Whether you're writing for a newspaper, whether you're writing for a blog, whether you're writing for a journal, try to publish yourselves. Because that's when you start, stamping your authority as an academic. And once you're done with your degree, try and look into various opportunities of internship. If you're not willing to pursue an LLM immediately after your LLB, start looking at various opportunities of internships. There are a lot of think tanks in Pakistan now. There are a lot of organizations that are, if not directly, but indirectly working on public international law. So try getting engaged with them, because that way not only will you get some practical hands-on experience on public international law, but you'll develop a network that you will need later on in your career. Because specialists in public international law are very few in Pakistan. If you are able to build a network with them, it's going to only help you in the future.
Yeah.
So it's small steps, but take these small
baby
steps. Yes.
So I recently entered this public international law market, and I was initially very enthusiastic, but I felt a bit demotivated considering the market. And I had a discussion with my director, and he said, what would you want to be in public international law if you daydream about it? And I was like, go to ICJ. And he was like, okay, so that is not possible in Pakistan because of the constraints that we have. So in Pakistan, you could only be an academic, teach at university, be a researcher. I don't want to sit at a desk and do research all the time, because being a mooter, you need to speak and also research.
Yes.
So research part alone feels a bit bland.
Yeah.
So the third one was international litigation. Pakistan has nothing of that.
Nothing.
So it was sad to see, because I was just recently looking at the various case studies previously. In Yadav case, we didn't have a single lawyer. We hired Khabar Qureshi and international.
And what about India?
India hired Hari Salve.
Yes.
And he just took 1 rupee as a fees. I remember reading about that, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it's illegit. So yeah, but Pakistan had to pass a bill at, I think, Parliament to support this particular claim. And recently I was working on this Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline issue, and Pakistan has been delaying the construction of pipeline from its part because of the US sanctions for obvious reasons, because the relation.
Yeah.
So I want to decide whether Pakistan should construct or should not construct. And if Pakistan does not want to construct, then what about the arbitration?
Yeah.
So by the time I gave my research and gave my opinion on construction, Pakistan had already hired 2 firms and was going to arbitration and was not constructing.
Yeah.
So, and who did Pakistan hire? Will, Falker and Gallagher and White and Case.
Yeah.
No Pakistani.
No, I mean, because understandably so as well, because I mean, it's still an emerging area for Pakistan, and with you guys, hopefully we'll have people representing us properly at international forums. But that's why public international law is so important, because we need to have we need to have a bank of people who can represent the state when it comes to dispute resolution at an international forum, which requires certain expertise. We don't have them at the moment.
No, we don't.
Which is why we have to outsource these facilities or these expertise. When we talk of our neighboring country, India, it's not the case over there. You spoke about the Yadav case. If you only look at the submissions to the court from both countries, there's a marked difference.
Exactly.
And it shows, the amount, it shows the quality of legal education that's being imparted in India at the moment, and the kind of
focus on public international law
and the kind of lawyer being produced in the country. And it's something that it's an area where we're lacking, and which we need to work on. And when we talk of public international law specifically, so not only dispute resolution, we need experts who are available to advise the government on policy issues as well. So not just representing the government when things go south, but informing the government, advising the government before entering into an obligation, before undertaking an obligation at the international level.
That's one thing only that lawyer could do who is from that particular jurisdiction.
Exactly.
So I was recently studying on that Indus Waters Treaty arbitration and things on case laws surrounding that, and my thesis is also on that. So Pakistan had hired a foreign arbitrator and foreign counsel to represent it at PCA, Permanent Court of Arbitration. And what happened was that lawyer did not advise Pakistan on how, or developing our case and protecting Pakistan's future interest. Exactly. That is not what the lawyer do. Their goal is to win the case for Pakistan, and that is simply it. जो narrative building होती है, जो policy recommendations होती है, जो future में पाकिस्तान के काम आएंगी, only those lawyers can do जो कि पाकिस्तान के साथ ही हैं.
Exactly, who understand the nature of the problem from Pakistan's perspective.
So yeah, ma'am. Now moving from professional to academic again, mooting. So as a distinguished mooter and as a head of BULMS, how do you think international moots impact your interest in public international law and also your career trajectory? Does international law moots on your CV matter when you go for public international law career, or are they just a sham?
They do definitely. Why? Because international law moot court competitions, they prepare you for what's in store for you once you graduate from your law degree, and then you start looking at career options, or let's say options as to academics. For you, I'm sure in PICTE, and for me in PICTE, you were able to, and I was able to develop a network of people who I could rely on, a network of people who could advise me on what options were available in their specific countries when it came to public international law, or people I could fall back on when I had questions pertaining to my research, let's say. So you develop this network which supports you, and which can help you choose a particular trajectory when it comes to your career. So not only are these moot court competitions so helpful in helping you understand various areas or various branches of international law, but they bring with it a network of people who will support you when you ultimately decide to pursue a career in international law.
Because then again, international law talks about making networks internationally. So international networks go a long way. So ma'am, last question about our formal discussion. If you would like to give one advice to law students aspiring to become, public international law experts, so what would that be?
Work hard, raise your standard of work, and lower your expectations.
Okay.
Yes.
That's really good advice. So now I'm moving towards the informal part of our podcast, which is the trivial questions and rapid fire questions. So I would be asking you questions very quickly. I speak very fast already, but I would be asking you questions and you would be giving them answers without thinking.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, but you can take time, obviously.
Of course.
Okay. So best memory as head of BULMS?
would be the successful conclusion of our first international moot court competition, I believe.
Okay. 2 words to express your time during BULMS.
2 words. Memorable, and I can't think of one word. It was like, so an once in a lifetime experience, I believe.
Okay. So, Jessa, PICTE or HDMCC, who would you choose?
PICTE, any day.
Okay. So, if you were making a team from the students that you know who have graduated or still studying for PICTE, who would that include?
Graduated or still studying?
Yes.
For PICTE.
And who you know, obviously.
Of course. So, Salman Masood, first and foremost. Habibullah.
Okay.
And then Maham, I believe.
Okay, that's a really strong team.
Yeah.
We didn't make it in the first Jessa, but yeah, it's a really good team. And I had to say, like, I'm extremely impressed by the way you make teams. I mean, although they may be controversial at times, but
you guys don't get it at first.
Yes, but they work out ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is one thing that I'm really, I want to learn from, especially from you. But still, I'm graduating, so that won't matter in the future. But yeah. So next question: Salman's presidency or Mom's presidency?
Tough one, Salman's.
Okay.
He was a people's person.
Okay, so if you could go back in time and relive one moot competition or redo one moot court competition, what would that be?
For you guys?
No, for you. It's your own.
PICTE. For sure, PICTE.
Okay.
Because, once, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, when you're in PICTE, everything's happening at such a pace that you don't have time to react.
Exactly.
But once you're done with PICTE, you're like,
And you just
I could have done this. So, yeah, for sure,
PICTE is a whole vibe.
Definitely.
So, if not PIL, which law would you have chosen?
Corporate, but I'd be very unhappy.
Okay. So, if not law, then which field would you be in?
Philosophy, I believe. So I'm a social sciences person. Natural sciences never made sense to me.
Okay. So, one thing you miss the most about BULMS?
You guys, my team.
Okay, so Bahria Islamic or Dubai University, which one you like the most?
See, I can't choose one. So I'll take out University of Dubai from the mix because it's new and it's not home, right? Between Islamic University and Bahria University, I'd say Bahria has an edge over Islamic University.
So, ma'am, what's one thing if you would redo as your time as the head of BULMS? What would that be?
Would be I think the structure of the society. I believe at times, the society is academic purely in nature, and I don't think there should be any political influence whatsoever in the society.
That's true.
And I believe the structure that we have, it tends to, allow for that room for political opinions to wriggle into it, so to eliminate that altogether.
Okay. What is harder to fix, Pakistan's approach to PIL or the enforcement of ICJ decisions?
Enforcement of ICJ decisions.
Okay. What's one thing about Bahria University that's better than the other universities? I believe you have answered it, but again.
It's the students and your passion for law.
So, ma'am, this marks the conclusion of our podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on this podcast. It was a pleasure having you.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.